I'm Neil Doherty with North Country Whitetails, and welcome to DSI. You know, for years you've been reading about big bucks and some of the stories behind how they're harvested, but you never really got a full picture. In DSI, we're going to break it down in great detail and really give you the behind-the-scenes talk and understanding why deer do what they do. We're going to merge the deer stories with the science behind how the deer move, the food sources in the area, get up above and study aerial photography and really teach you how to use those techniques when it comes to your hunts this fall. This is a story of double mane. Now we're going to introduce a husband and wife team here, and we're going to start off with Laura, but before we do I want to get into talking a little bit about this farm. This is a family-owned farm. It's about 150 acres in size, and it is surrounded by incredible ag. The field on the eastern portion of the farm is planted in corn, also corn on the western side, and then all the surrounding fields have been planted in soybeans. And a soybean is a tremendous food source during the summer months. So any deer feeding in those foods are getting basically all the protein requirements they need, and they're going to be really blown up in terms of antler size during the fall hunting season. Now this overall farm, in one glance at it from the air, it is textbook of what you're looking for in terms of a tremendous funnel in between two ag sources to catch deer as they're leaving summer feeding fields or feeding fields in the soybeans and working up through bedding areas or working in and out of the cornfields. It creates a lot of opportunities for hunters. But the property had a few other things that were really going for it. If you look on the top end of the photo, the north side of the farm, you've got a public golf course here, and many people know that golf courses oftentimes will house some older age animals that just kind of hide out there during the hunting season, so that can be perceived as a sanctuary. The other thing that is unique about the property, on the far south of this funnel, there's actually a large horse farm that's there, and they're anti-hunters, and they're very strict about having anybody in there. So there's another several hundred acre sanctuary in the south end of this block of woods. So you have more than likely older age deer on the south side of the farm, older age deer on the north side of the farm, and you can only imagine what's going to happen when the rut kicks in as these bucks start to travel back and forth. So an ideal situation. Now as far as the makeup of this little draw that's through here, it's a really nice draw, and if you look in here close, you're going to see a stream that goes through it. You've got apples, hawthorns, multiflora rose. You've got a lot of soft mast food sources that the deer can eat in the fall. That's important because that's good for keeping them put maybe if the crops have been harvested around it. But it also has a lot of bluffs in and around where this creek has eroded the bottom of this ravine through here. Lots of opportunity for bedding. So we've got the bedding sanctuary, we've got the ag on the outside, and it sets up absolutely perfect for hunting. Now, the buck that Laura was able to harvest showed up early on camera in August, and they knew we were looking at something special because they could see it had a double main beam. It was photographed on the south side of the farm as it was heading away from the soybean fields, moving back up into some bedding area. And they smartly have realized that they're not going to spend a lot of time poking around and setting cameras in the middle of this funnel. They have the ag on the north, south, east, and west. They know the deer are going to bed in the funnel, and the more times they go in and check cameras, the more intrusion they have in those areas, the harder it's going to be to outsmart some of these older age deer that they know are in the area. So captured the buck on camera on the south side of the farm. Didn't catch it again, but knew it was in the area. It would just be a matter of time before the buck showed up. Now, it's not saying they're not doing any work during the summer months. They do spend a lot of time during the summer months with hand nippers and pruners going through and clearing trails, so they're going to be silent as they head into some deer stands that are in this funnel. But also they're clearing trails to make sure the deer have easy access to the proper locations close to their tree stands. So they're going to block a few trails with brush where they couldn't reach them, say with an archery shot, and then open up a trail where a deer is going to walk by at 15 or 20 yards to give them the perfect shot. And the deer is going to take the path of least resistance. So there's quite a few of those trails that are cut through this funnel that are maintained every summer. Now the day that Laura was successful on this hunt, there was standing corn on both sides of this draw. There's still soybeans available out in this field, and it was during the early portion of bow season. It was actually a really warm day. It was 63 degrees in the morning, and she did go out for a morning hunt and suspected that she might be able to encounter one of these good deer, but didn't have high hopes this specific day would produce a good shootable buck just because it was so warm. The wind was out of the south, so she approached her hunting stand from the north, parking, moving along on foot along the edge of the field. And then prior to going into her stand location, she ducked into the woods, made contact with the stream bed, and actually walked the last 100 yards in the water up to her tree stand location. Now, by walking in the water, she's going to cover the sound of her footfalls, so she's going to be a lot quieter for these deer that are in there bedded. She's also going to cover up her scent, and she's not going to have very much scent for the deer to pick up after the fact. So this is a real kind of a good way to get in and out of tree stands if you can. So envision stepping right out of the stream onto the climbing stick to head up into the climbing, or the lock-on stand that was there. That's a scenario, and that's a setup for this particular deer. At about 9:30 in the morning, several other small bucks and about a dozen does had passed by as they moved up to go lay down in the center portion of this funnel. They bed there for the day and then head back, and she caught a glimpse out of the corner of her eye of the big double maned buck. He moved through and gave her a great shot at 20 yards. Now Laura really played her cards right. She got a great deer here, but she's handling this funnel ideally. Walking along the edge of the fields and drifting in and hunting the appropriate downwind side of the narrow parts of the draw are exactly how you want to handle it. And she's also being very careful not to pollute the overall funnel with tracks going into check cameras. She knows there's good deer in there, and she's simply slipping in, dropping down in the water to help mask her scent, and then stepping up onto her tree stands and hunting and slipping back out the same way. That style of hunting will keep this funnel fresh and make sure it produces deer all fall long. That's going to be really important for her husband, who still has a tag and is going to continue to hunt. We're going to actually share one of his stories a little bit later on.